कि वो इलेक्शन ईयर था मूवी का, जब मैं दैट वाज द मेन गोल, जितना जान बचा रहे वही हुआ। नंबर लान की इलेक्शन में हैंगिंग का कार्ड मैं तो अपनी पड़ी हुई थी पूरी क्यामत थी ऊपर से अम्मी का भी इशू हुआ था, बच्ची की भी कराया मैंने नीचे किसी किसी में मैं वो उसको मैंने बनाई कश्मीरी कंसल्टेटिव कमेटी, मैंने एक लॉन्ग टर्म प्लान दे के गई हूँ।
वो आपका एक बुक तो है मेरे पास, पीस एंड कल्चर,
वो और है ये और चीज़ है।
So it's two subjects now, on the Kashmir and then on Palestine.
Yes, both of them. Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajeem. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. I'm very grateful and I'm honored and thankful to President Malaysian Consultative Council of Islamic Organization President, His Excellency Muhammad Azmi Abdul Hamid Sahab, and to Harzalina Binti Muhammad Sahar Sahiba, and to Mr. Tahir Sahab, who's Malaysian Pakistani and strong support for Kashmir cause and Palestine, and to dear brother Mr. Waqar Sahab, who's also part of this high-powered Malaysian delegation. And I would say that they have come as masihas for causes of humanity, for the plight of Kashmiris, and the global campaign that they've designed and that they've been working on, especially since 2018, very actively, comprehensively, aggressively, the way they're doing for our Palestinian brothers and sisters. And Honorable Muhammad Azmi Sahab has always been a ray of hope and beacon for all those oppressed people around the world that do not have a voice, and giving them that voice, giving them that strength and courage, and speaking up for their rights in towards the world, and exposing the Indian atrocities, the genocide, ethnic cleansing, war crimes. And I was sharing with Excellency that very soon a time is coming, the way the Indian RSS state is working, that you will only see Kashmiris artifacts or stories about their lives. They'll all be in graveyards. And this massive epidemic of blind eyes, of rape, of chemical weapons, of RSS growing network, Islamophobia, and disinformation labs, and demolishing of mosques in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, and even within India, and targeting minorities, and hijab ban on Qurbani during Eid, and so many anti-Muslim, anti-minority bills being passed, and all this is happening. And then the growing terror network of India, of RSS around the world. And just recently, I was telling him how, over the decades, we have been receiving so many threats from RSS, our family, which is at the forefront of the peaceful resolution for the Kashmir conflict. And my husband is right now, he's in a death cell, and he's facing fictitious charges and a hanging case where he's not being allowed to speak up or to defend himself. There is no lawyer, and just unilateral decisions and judicial terrorism is going on. And I have appealed to His Excellency to start a rigorous, a very strong, a bold campaign for the release of all Kashmiri prisoners, including all the Hurriyat leadership. We have incarcerated Asiya Rabi Sahiba, we have Shabir Shah who's arrested, we have Dr. Faktu, and so many others, and especially Yasin's, my husband's case, his hanging case, the death row that he's facing for all those illegal charges against him and the others. So the Indian judicial system, the Indian courts, the Indian army, the Indian state machinery, all of them, the intelligence agencies, and their politicians, especially the RSS, which is ruling right now, it's so hungry for the blood of Kashmiris, it's so thirsty that whatever they're doing right now with Kashmiris, it's like, I don't know when these iron curtains will be lifted, but yes, Palestinians still have a voice when genocide is happening, when war crimes are happening. but it is a tragedy that all those Kashmiri voices globally also that are not jailed right now in Indian prisons, they are also being targeted. And the recent killing of my mother, how she was poisoned, all these things are of the growing RSS HSS network, target killings in Canada, in America, in Europe, and of Sikhs and other people who are speaking up against this fascist regime. So I think um, it's going to be because as we were discussing in our meeting that the new world order, I don't know when it will come, but this world order has become a disorder, as His Excellency has mentioned, and the whole jungle law is being implemented in the world. I don't know where we are heading. I feel sorry for our future generations that we can't promise them a peaceful world. And I would request His Excellency has written letters and he will elaborate on it. And I thank him and his entire delegation for their unflinching support for the oppressed Kashmiris and for always encouraging and supporting in the toughest of times our family and all the Kashmiris. And we really look forward to working with His Excellency and his team and speaking up for the rights of oppressed people around the world. Please.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. My sister Mishal, Dato Tahir, and my colleagues, and all the representative of the media, thank you very much for receiving us. This has been quite a short notice because when I met Mishal the other day, I was just thinking myself, this visit has to be a very meaningful one in expressing and reiterating our support for the Kashmir cause. So that is why we decided to have this media exposure, and I thank her very much. And let me just also convey my condolences to her mother, which is also very dear to me. I've been meeting her since she went to Kuala Lumpur with Mishal, and it was like already a family between us. So I felt the pain, and when Mishal was telling that it's a kind of it's not mysterious, but probably it's already a planned assassination, and I think that's not too an alien news for anyone who's in the forefront of this Kashmir cause will be targeted. So my warmest and heartful condolences to you and all your family. Now, the first thing that I'm going to elaborate is on this Kashmir issue, and later on we are going to take this also another subject of what's happening in Palestine, but I think we'll deal with the Kashmir issue. Now we have, I've issued two materials on this subject. One is my letter to the opposition leader of India, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, and another one is my statement on urging ASEAN, the grouping of 11 countries in the region of ASEAN, to take on this issue of Kashmir on the agenda. The idea that, let me just reaffirm that we really understand this predicament, this plight of the repressiveness of India since 1947, and I've been following that, and many of my colleagues in Malaysia, the NGOs, the politicians, even some academicians, even some of the scholars, they start to speak when we organize a lot of events. So I think it's become more and more a central issue now as far as Malaysia is concerned, aside from Palestine. And therefore, the understanding what happened in the abrogation of the 370, 35A, and the Domicile Act that was enacted, and on and on this issue of people being detained, they've been attacked, and some of them have been incarcerated, that has been followed. I've been talking to our main leaders in the country, the Prime Minister himself, and also the cabinet ministers, the politicians in Parliament. So we are trying to always update them and refresh them about the situation. Uh, the documents that I have, that I have already distributed to some of the people within the cabinet ministers, and also some of the letters that I've written, the press statements I've gone through. It's quite well distributed, but still, as a nation, I think Malaysia will definitely have to do more. So we have initiated a lot of things on the issue of Kashmir. One, we have gone to the parliament. We have formed what we call, for a time being, the Friends of Kashmir Parliamentarian Committee. We will push to a stage of what they call a caucus as a committee, and then we initiate the Malaysian Youth Kashmir Forum. We have initiated Malaysian for Kashmir, and then we are going down further to have a few more fronts on this Kashmir issue, and I hope that this initiative will expand more and more. Okay, so the initiative is then, and therefore my visit this time around is to again meet all parties, especially Mishal with the Peace and Culture Organization. We have met the Committee of Kashmir in the Parliament yesterday, the Minister and his committees. We have met also, of course, the youth, Kashmir youth, Brother Zaman. We met also the Minister himself that deals with the Kashmir affair. We visited a day trip to Muzaffarabad and met the speakers and met also the Chief Justice, and also going to the refugee camps. So all this series of meetings that we've had is strengthening our understanding and trying to feel the pulse of this issue. And therefore, yesterday I decided to send a letter to Rahul Gandhi and appeal. Yeah, it's already distributed.
Yes,
Yeah, it's
sure.
here. All right. This is a letter printed on our email. On letterhead. We have sent it to Rahul Gandhi a day before, and it's already reached at his office by email. We are waiting for a response and acknowledgement. What we have said here is to demand for the immediate release of Yassin Malik, and expressing that India is abusing the judicial system to exterminate Kashmiri's resistant leadership, one after another. But now the situation is so grave that Yassin Malik has been a target of a very extreme uh, action by the Indian government to have him sentenced to death. So that kicks off my response that this cannot be allowed. And therefore, this letter is saying that we are representing the Coalition Society of Malaysia, which is about 200 organization. If you go by individual, we have about 2 million members.
2 billion. Wow.
And therefore it can reach very far. So we stated that it is evident that India is weaponizing its judiciary to eliminate Kashmiri resistant leaders by subjecting them to unfair trials. It's not even a fair trial. I mean, I was informed by Mishal that they do not allow counsel. They even offer their own counsel, which is ridiculous. They are not. They are. Yassin Malik is incommunicate. There's no communication at all allowed.
Yes.
And we know for a fact that there's been these fabricated charges, and the very serious thing is about the inhuman treatment on him. Now, the case of Yassin Malik is a clear example of this systematic abuse of power. His unjust imprisonment, solitary confinement, and denial for a fair trial represent not only a gross violation of human rights, but also an attack on the fundamental right of the Kashmiri people to self-determination. We say that the Indian government's actions against Kashmiri leaders reflect a dangerous pattern that is politically motivated trials designed to criminalize legitimate resistance against occupation, denial of basic human rights, including the medical detention and legal representation, suppression of voices calling for justice, peace, and self determination in Jammu and Kashmir, and all of it is done by silencing Yasin Malik and other Kashmiri leaders. India is not seeking justice. The word of justice is not there at all. It is attempting to eradicate the very leadership that represent the aspiration of Kashmiri people. And therefore, our call is you as a leader, Rahul Gandhi, you as a leader of the opposition, you have the moral and political responsibility to uphold democracy, justice, and human rights in India. So we urge you to, number one, is to publicly demand the immediate and unconditional release of Yasin Malik. Number two, to challenge the BJP fascist government that its misuse of its judicial system to suppress political dissent in Kashmir. We are demanding and we are asking him to challenge that. And we are also asking him to support an independent international investigation into human rights violations against Kashmiri political practices. This is important. Why? They have shut down every channel of communication to allow independent investigation to come into India and also into Kashmir and investigate. And the last call was to advocate for dialogue and peaceful resolution of the Kashmir issue instead of the state-sponsored persecution. Now, the continued persecution of Yasin Malik and other Kashmiri leaders will only escalate tension and further expose India's disregard for international human rights norms. If India wishes to claim its status as the world's largest democracy, it must end judicial repression, respect human rights, and allow Kashmiris their fundamental right to decide their future. So that is why we strongly urge you, Rahul Gandhi, to take a principled stand in defense of democracy and justice by ensuring that Yasin Malik is immediately released and all political motivated charges against him are dropped. The world is watching, and India must not continue down a path of authoritarianism and oppression, and we look forward to your urgent intervention and public response on this matter. Now, this is the first letter of a kind that we have sent to a leader. Now, I've made a decision that we will start sending these kind of letters to few more other leaders of the world. We're going to send it to Anwar Ibrahim, our Prime Minister. We're going to send it to Prabowo, the President of Indonesia. We're going to send it to Hassan Bolkiah, the Sultan of Brunei. We're going to send also to Turkey, the President of Turkey, Erdogan. And we will also send to a few Arab countries, including Qatar and Kuwait and a few others. And we are also sending a letter to Vladimir Putin. You might be surprised of this, but I'm in close, I don't know, so I cannot say it's close contact, but I've seen him, I've talked to him, he have, listened to me. So I think he remembers me. I'm also appealing for Russia to intervene. So this is quite something beyond the norm of an NGO doing this. And so, on this thing also, I have issued a letter of an ASEAN involvement in Kashmir. I think there's calling for the ASEAN. This one, is it? There's a statement. I issued a statement on ASEAN. Must be there. Anyway, now this one. So this statement was issued yesterday, and I'll give you the link. A lot of papers have already published this issue. This statement is that ASEAN as 11 member states country. Now Malaysia is the chairman of ASEAN. We alternately change chairmanship. Now is the Malaysian turn, and Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim is the chair. and I've sent to him this statement urging ASEAN must speak out on Kashmir and demand the release of Yassin Malik. Still, we are emphasizing on that. Now, ASEAN is supposedly a principal organization on peace, on human rights, on humanity, on rule of law, all that. That is spelled out in the constitution or the charter of ASEAN. Now, I'm using that charter saying that now we have to prove, you know, to the world that we have a case of Kashmir, we have a case of detainees of Kashmiris, and we are demanding that ASEAN take this on board. Why? Because ASEAN cannot see this issue as an issue that's not related to the region. It is related because, as you know, that the situation of this issue is a nuclear flashpoint.
Yes.
Right? Now, when we say nuclear flashpoint, it's a very, very risky situation. It can blow up. It can become a center of world war. If there is a miscalculation between Pakistan and India, we're going to see what Donald Trump says: hell, all hell will break out. No, we don't want that to happen. Therefore, ASEAN will have to voice.
Yes.
So they cannot. India cannot say this is a regional issue. This is only between Pakistan and India. This is an international issue. One is because the Kashmir issue is on the agenda of United Nations Security Council, and there is a debate even in the OIC. So it is an international issue, and therefore ASEAN has the right to say and voice out its concern,
Yes.
and also to emphasize that they must come back to the negotiation and do not allow any extremism trends that will come. What India is trying to do is to radicalize people. With this, there is a high possibility of radical groups coming out and to respond to what India is doing. I mean, that is something that we cannot avoid. If you corner them to the wall, what else they can do? I mean, they rape the mothers, they kill the children, they demolish the mosque, they took out every rights of the Kashmiri. What do you expect? Any country, any ethnic, any nation will then have to respond. And radicalization of people is going to be very dangerous. And this is why NGOs like us.
You could do it in Urdu.
Yeah.
Translate, because then the headlines
Oh, okay.
at 2 o'clock.
Okay. Okay. So that is why I'm doing this. Okay. So my last submission today, and this is an agreement with Mishal, that we are concerned about the Gaza recently, and I think we are waiting news whether Israel is going to resume the war because Hamas is going to send this. So to release the hostages, I think we take this opportunity that MAPIM and Peace and Cultural Organization are in one voice under the name of the people of Malaysia and the people of Pakistan. We are together in one voice that we reject totally this whole thing about real estate of Gaza.
Yes.
Cleaning up Gaza, and they have to move out and all that. We are totally condemning that, and we will never accept that. And I think this shows the unity between Malaysia and Pakistan on all these kind of issues. So we have released this. We are trying to get more endorsers, but you can just publish this. So I think that's about all. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया. और आज प्रेसिडेंट मापिम मलेशियन कंसल्टेटिव काउंसिल ऑफ इस्लामिक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, जो कि 200 से ज़ायद INGOs हैं इनके अंदर, और 2 मिलियन से ज़्यादा इनके जो हैं फॉलोअर्स हैं इसके अंदर, और आसियन का जो इन्होंने ख़ुद भी बताया है, हिज एक्सेलेंसी मोहम्मद अज़मी अब्दुल हामिद साहब, हु इज़ द प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ मापिम, और आसियन के इस वक्त चेयर जो है वो मलेशिया के पास है, जिसके अंदर 11 कंट्रीज़ हैं, जिन सब को वो उन्होंने खतूत लिखने, जो रिलीज़ ऑफ कश्मीरी पॉलिटिकल प्रिजनर्स, और उसके साथ जो इनके पार्लियामेंट के अंदर है फ्रेंड्स ऑफ कश्मीर जो ग्रुप है, उसके साथ साथ उसका एक वो कॉकस बनाना चाह रहे हैं, और उसके साथ साथ यहाँ पे भी आज़ाद कश्मीर में भी, इस्लामाबाद के अंदर भी दे आर वर्किंग क्लोजली विद अस, जो भी कश्मीर के ऊपर काम किया जा रहा है कि यहाँ पे एक کشمیر اور ملیشیا کا کلچرل سینٹرز اسٹیبلش کیے جائیں اور ملیشین اینڈ کشمیری یوتھ فورمز کو اسٹیبلش کیا جائے اور اس لزاؤں کو اور بڑھایا جائے. اور آج جو انہوں نے پبلک کیا ہے, جو انہوں نے انڈین لیڈر آف اپوزیشن راہل گاندھی کو بھی لیٹر لکھا ہے کہ اگر اپنے آپ کو سو کال ڈیموکریسی کہتے ہیں تو جو کشمیریوں کے ساتھ ہو رہا ہے, خاص طور پہ جو جوڈیشل ٹیررزم ہو رہا ہے, خاص طور پہ یاسین صاحب کے کیس کے حوالے سے, جس طرح ان کو آر ایس ایس کی سرکار پھانسی گھاٹ چڑھانا چاہتی ہے, ان کی جان کو بچانے کے لیے ایک انکنڈیشنل ڈیمانڈ اکارڈنگ ٹو دا ڈیموکریٹک پرنسپلز جو ہے ڈیمانڈ کی ہے. اور اسی طرح ریلیز آف سارے جتنے بھی جو قیدوں کے اندر ہیں ہمارے کشمیر کے حریت رہنما, کشمیر کا یوتھ, کشمیر کی عوام ہندوستان کی پریزنز میں, ان کو ریلیز کیا جائے. اور اس کے ساتھ ساتھ ایک گلوبل کیمپین جو ہے اس کو یہ ہمارے ساتھ مل کے ڈیزائن کریں, کیونکہ ایک بہت وسیع ان کا ایک گلوبل نیٹ ورک ہے. اور جس طریقے سے یہ غازہ کے لیے بھی, پیلسٹائن کے لیے بھی پوری دنیا کے اندر کیمپین کریں, 5 ملین مارچ یہ آرگنائز کر رہے ہیں مارچ کے مہینے میں کوالالمپر میں, جس میں پوری دنیا سے لوگ آ رہے ہیں اور وہ آواز اٹھائیں گے, جو بھی غازہ ناٹ فار سیل اس کا ٹائٹل ہے. اور اسی طرح ان کا پلان ہے کہ کشمیر کے حوالے سے بھی یہ بہت بڑے لیول پہ کرنا چاہ رہے ہیں. 2018 سے ان کے ساتھ ہمارا ایک بہت کلوزلی وی آر ورکنگ ٹوگیدر. اور ان کی میں سمجھتی ہوں کہ آج استوا کا بھی جو ان کا دورہ ہوا ہے پاکستان کا اور آزاد کشمیر کا, یہ بہت ہی فنڈامنٹل, اس کی ٹائمنگ بھی بہت کروشل ہے. اور جس طرح یہ ریفیوجی کیمپس کے اندر بھی گئے ہیں آزاد کشمیر میں, اور انہوں نے وہاں پہ جا کے لوگوں سے بات چیت کی ہے, سب اسٹیک ہولڈر سے ملیں, تو یہ ان کا بہت ہی ایک کمپریہنسو اور پروڈکٹیو جو ہے ان کا یہ ٹور رہا ہے. اور اس کے بعد جو لائے عمل, جو مین چیز ہوتی ہے کہ صرف ایڈوکیسی نہیں ہوتی بلکہ لانگ ٹرم پلان جو ہے کشمیر کی آزادی کے لیے, کیونکہ پیلسٹائن کے لیے بہت سی آوازیں دنیا بھر میں ہیں جو جینوسائڈ ہو رہا ہے, مگر کشمیر کی ہارڈلی ہمیں کوئی آوازیں نظر آتی ہیں. تو اس کے اوپر بھی ایک بہت بڑی اسٹریٹجی بنائی جا رہی ہے کہ آر ایس ایس کے نیٹ ورک کو جو دہشت گردی کر رہے ہیں پوری دنیا میں, اور ایچ ایس ایس کا نیٹ ورک, اس کو ایکسپوز کیا جائے, جو ڈس انفارمیشن پھیلائی جا رہی ہے, اور جو ورلڈ آرڈر اس وقت کا ڈس آرڈر میں تبدیل ہو گیا ہے, ایک جینوسائڈ نیا لا بن گیا ہے. تو اس کے حوالے سے انہوں نے آسین کے ممالک کو بھی, ورلڈ لیڈرز کو بھی انہوں نے کہا ہے کہ انگیج کریں گے, اور بہت ہی انکنڈیشنل جو ان کی ڈیمانڈ ہے کہ انکنڈیشنل ریلیز کیا جائے, خاص طور پہ یاسین صاحب کو, اور جو ہماری حریت کی ساری قیادت ہے. تو ہم ان کو تہہ دل سے شکر گزار ہیں, ساری کشمیری قوم, پاکستانی نیشن بھی, اور خاص طور پہ ایز اے فیملی, بیکاز ہی از جسٹ لائک اے فیملی فار اس. اور اس پرسنل لاس کے اندر میری والدہ کی شہادت پہ بھی جو ان کو گہرا دکھ ہوا ہے, اور ان کو بہت زیادہ, کیونکہ ایک فیملی کی طرح دن رات کا رابطہ رہتا ہے جب بھی کچھ کشمیر میں ہوتا ہے یاسین صاحب کے حوالے سے یا کچھ بھی, تو یہ کانسٹنٹ جو ہے ان کو ایک کنسرن رہتی ہے. اور اس کے اوپر ان کا ایک بہت ہی مطلب کہ کھلا موقف ہے, اور کبھی بھی انہوں نے ایسی کوئی بات نہیں کی جس سے کہ ہم سمجھیں کہ کوئی لچک آ گئی ہے. اور ہم امید کرتے ہیں کہ جس طرح پہلے مہاتر کے ساتھ انہوں نے جس طرح اسٹرانگلی ایڈوکیٹ کیا کشمیر کاز کو, سٹنگ پرائم منسٹر جو ملیشیا کے, ان کے ساتھ بھی یہ مل کے کر رہے ہیں, اور ورلڈ لیڈرز کے ساتھ. تو آئی ہوپ کہ ان کی کاوشوں میں یہ کامیاب ہوں, اور ہمیں اس وقت ایک بہت اسٹرانگ قسم کی گلوبل کیمپین کو لانچ کرنے کی ضرورت ہے. تو یہ لیٹر جو انہوں نے راہل گاندھی کو بھی بھیجا ہے, اور بھی اب جو پیلسٹائن کے حوالے سے بھی جو 5 ملین مارچ جو یہ کریں, ہماری دعائیں ان کے ساتھ ہیں, اور اس مشن کے اندر ہم ان کے ساتھ ہیں, اور ساری اپریسڈ کشمیری قوم بھی ان کو دعائیں دے رہی ہے, اور ان کو ان کے ہر جو انیشیٹو اور انڈیور ہے اس کے اندر ہم ان کو سپورٹ کرتے ہیں, اور ہم امید کرتے ہیں کہ اسی جذبے کے ساتھ یہ انٹرنیشنلی جو ہے ہمارا کیس لے کے جائیں. میں بہت شکر گزار ہوں جتنا بھی یہاں پہ پاکستان کا انٹرنیشنل میڈیا یہاں پر آیا ہے کوریج کے لیے, اور آپ سب نے جو کوریج بھی دی ہے, بہت بہت شکریہ. کیونکہ جب تک کہ ہماری وائس جو ہے ان کی اور ہماری کاز کے حوالے سے انٹرنیشنلی نہیں جائے گی, تو جتنے بھی ایفرٹس ہیں وہ فیوٹائل ہو جاتے ہیں. اور یہ بہت بڑا اس دور, اس صدی کا سب سے پرانا انٹرنیشنل مسئلہ ہے, جو ایک نیوکلیئر بھی 3 ممالک کے بیچ میں پھنسا ہے. آر ایس ایس کی ہر ممکن کوشش ہے کہ اس کو اور بھی زیادہ ایگریویٹ کیا جائے. تو گلوبل پیس, ریجنل پیس, ہیومینٹی, مسلم امہ کے حوالے سے بہت بھاری ذمہ داری آتی ہے. ایسی انٹرنیشنل پاورفل تنظیمیں آسین کو بھی ماپیں, یو این, OIC, کہ وہ ایک کروشل رول پلے کریں. بہت بہت شکریہ. تھینک یو. Thank you. Please join us.